All right, we're recording in three, two, and one. You got something?
No, I don't. Sorry.
I'm waiting on you to do the stab, and you got no stab. Well, there's the stab. We're idiots.
Idiots.
Welcome to episode 132 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 132. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. So I finished all seasons of The Rookie. Loved it.
Ricky is great.
Yes, I
Um,
can't wait for February when new episodes come back out.
oh, it's February because we
Yep,
were we were all curious because we've been basically catching up on it again.
yep, February. Well, we moved on to Rookie Feds.
Yeah, Ricky Feds is good.
It's good. It's not as good. I
No,
will say that, but it's good.
yeah,
Uh,
I
we've
like the crossover episodes.
I do too. We've got about one more episode, or excuse me, we've got about three more episodes of that, and then we're finished with Rookie Feds. One of the things I found interesting about both shows is both the Rookie has done it two or three times, and Rookie Feds has done it once, where they're doing a documentary inside the show.
Yes,
That must be a fan favorite because they keep doing it.
they keep bringing it back, and it's the same documentarian.
Yes. So I love both those shows. I've really enjoyed them. Like I said, I don't think Feds is as good as the Rookie, but it's still a good show. I've
Mhm.
enjoyed those. Um, I also watched all of Halo finally.
Okay,
Like that a lot.
I
Good seeing a good video game movie come out
I
or
have never
TV series. TV
yeah
series.
I have never played Halo.
I have.
Um,
It's good.
but but
Yeah, if you like first person shooters, it's good.
I don't.
Yeah. Well, then you
But the
wouldn't like it.
series is exceptional.
Yes, it was. I'm really, really looking forward to Fallout.
They're doing a Fallout series.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Does it come out in April? I think.
Oh, nice.
Um, really, really looking forward to Fallout. The trailer so far has looked really good. Walt Goggins is in it as a zombie. So
Nice.
it's yeah. I,
Oh,
I- I'm really looking forward to that. And then on Hulu, I just saw an ad for Daughters of the Cult, which I can't wait to watch. It's a 5 episode documentary about a cult, which I'm covering a cult today. So uh,
hey!
it's been a while since I've done that. So um, the other thing I just have to give a complaint about being down here in the valley.
Is
It's
this a
ve-
get off my lawn segment?
no, it's
Okay.
just I'm trying to find a PCP down here,
Hmm.
um, and I can't seem to get an appointment anywhere. All the doctors seem to be walk-in clinics.
Really?
And I really don't want that. I want to have an appointment and everything like that. I don't know. It's very different down here in the valley. I just I it you just have to live here to understand. It's just very different. And like I said, I'm having a hard time finding a PCP. I really need to get in to see a doctor. So I don't know. I don't know. Just my complaint. So anyway, do you have anything for us?
No. We're thinking about going to see the Iron Claw today. Um, I am far more interested in. Well, okay, I like the story, but I wasn't a big wrestling fan. But I know who these people are
Mm, mm,
because they were all local.
mm-hmm.
Um, I am way more interested to see how they rebuilt the Bronco Bowl and the Sportatorium. And uh, when Cree was a kid in Wichita Falls, she used to see them at a local venue there.
Mm-hmm.
And when she would go visit her grandparents in Amarillo, there was a venue that was out there that they used to go see them all the time,
Yeah.
um, which is no longer around. So apparently in the film, they've recreated all of that. And I'm God, so curious to see that.
Hmm.
You know,
Well,
I they would also go to Fort Worth, and the convention center basically looks the same.
yeah.
I mean, where you would go in to see them is exactly the same. It hasn't changed since 1960 when they built it.
Well,
But
the
yeah,
rest of my day will be around football. The Cowboys look to clinch the NFC East today. I hope. Yay.
yay, yay! So they're
So
gonna score a lot of home runs, or
yes,
yes, okay,
yes, they will score a lot of home runs. Yes.
good. Good for the Cowboys. Yay.
You're an idiot.
That was for Mike.
Oh, Zig, shut up and take over the nerdy side of the house.
Okay, today we are going through the Star Trek series. We're talking about Star Trek Picard.
Awesome.
Yes. It is an American science fiction television series created by Akiva Goldsmith, Michael Chabon, uh, Kirsten Beyer, and Alex Kurtzman for the streaming service CBS All Access, later rebranded as Paramount Plus. It is the eighth Star Trek series and was released from 2020 to 2023 as part of Kurtzman's expanded Star Trek universe. The series focuses on retired Starfleet Admiral Jean-Luc Picard. It begins at the end of the 24th century, 20 years after the character's last appearance in Star Trek Nemesis, which was in 2002. Patrick Stewart stars as Picard, reprising his role from the series Star Trek, The Next Generation, as well as other Star Trek media. Alison Pill, Issa Briones, Harry Treadway, Michael Hurd, Santiago Cabrera, and Evan Evagora also star in the first season, with Jerry Ryan, Orla Brady, and Brent Spiner joining it for the second. The third season stars Stewart, Ryan Hurd, and Ed Spielers, with Next Generation cast members LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Jonathan Frakes, Gates McFadden, Marina Sirtis, and Spiner as special guest stars.
Wait a minute, hang on one second. You said Jerry Ryan in the second. Wasn't she in the first season as well?
Yeah, but she wasn't starring.
Right. Oh, okay,
She
okay,
was like
okay.
a guest star in the first series
Thank
or
you.
the first season, and then she was starring thereafter.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Um, I loved this series.
I did too.
I'm just gonna say it. And every season was different. They dealt with
Yeah,
a different problem.
yeah. Critically, the second one is considered the weakest of the three. But I enjoyed all three very much,
Yeah,
with the third one being the outstanding one. The third season was just phenomenal.
they take the Enterprise D, and yeah, spoilers. They take the Enterprise D and they run it through a Borg cube,
Mm-hmm.
a la running the Millennium Falcon through the second Death Star, and
Yes.
it is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. You've got to get out and see this series if you haven't yet. It is so good. Oh, so well done. Can't
yeah,
say enough about this series.
yeah. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Patrick Stewart um, starts starts off as being very old and frail,
Mm-hmm.
and then he gets a basically a body mod. So he's younger in the second season than he is in the first season, and
Right.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And they don't forget that when they go into the third season. Um, and you know, props to Patrick Stewart for doing as much as he did at the age that he is. And I don't want to be ageist, but he's doing a lot of stunt work,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and he is not a young man. I'm
No,
not
but
saying
but
he's
in
not in
season
good shape.
in season one, they definitely aged him more than he
Yeah,
really looks.
yeah, because canonically Picard is close to 100
Yeah.
in the in the season. Patrick Stewart is not that old, but he's much older, and it amazes me how he was able to do a lot of the stuff that he was able to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's in very good shape for a man of his age. Not to be ageist, but I mean, you get up into your 80s, it's hard to move around,
Sure.
much less jump off of stuff, which he does. Um, I liked the whole cast too. Even the people who weren't Next Generation, I actually liked them. Well, I don't want to say better. I liked them as much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Evan Evagora, who plays this young Romulan who is steeped in the idea of absolute candor, which is the idea of you only ever speak the truth, regardless of the outcome.
Hmm.
um, I think is one of the most brilliant Star Trekian ideas they've come out with in a long time. Star Trekian? Yeah,
Yeah,
let's go
yeah,
with that.
yeah,
Roddenberryan.
yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and I love it, and I love that actor. I would have liked to have seen a little more of him in the third season, but I get
Hmm.
why why they didn't put him in as much.
Right.
Um, but I loved him. I loved Allison Pill. Issa Briones was amazing um, as several characters.
Right.
Um,
I like the actress that they chose for Guinan.
oh, the young Guinan.
Yes.
Yes, yes, and they even brought back oh, what's his name from the early '60s or from the original series. Um, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Um,
Which character?
so they were gonna make him a they were gonna make it a series, but it never went. He had the cat, and he was from an advanced civilization watching Earth in the '60s.
I don't remember
Um,
this.
the Watchers.
I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, in the third season, the Romulan
That's watching everything. Was
Gary Six or something like that. Gary
okay.
Seven.
Weren't they weren't the Watchers all a part of the group that Wesley Crusher went off with?
No, Wesley Crusher went off with the Travelers.
The Travelers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, no,
Thank
the
you.
Watchers are um, from the original series. Gary Seven.
Okay.
Seven. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. Um, but I love that they brought that idea back
Hmm.
um, in the yeah, in the second series um, or the second season.
Hmm.
I love that idea and how Guinan was basically connected with them.
Right.
Um, just brilliant. Um, I loved everything about this series. The only thing, the only thing I didn't like about it is I wanted a little more, and I didn't get more. But
I thought it was perfect. I thought the seasons were perfectly paced. Um, I didn't think they were slow. I
no,
thought everything built right. I think they were just right. Um, 3 seasons was perfect for it.
yeah, three and done.
Um, now I mean I say not wanting more. I love the show.
I'd like a fourth season. That's what I'm saying.
But but I think it was perfect. I think it's perfect the way it is.
Mhm. It is a
Um,
perfect little series.
yeah, I wouldn't bring in a fourth. Leave it exactly where it is.
Well, some of the production, the new series starring Pat Stewart as Picard, was first rumored in June of 2018 and officially announced that August. It was produced by CBS Studios in association with Secret Hideout, Weed Road Pictures, and Roddenberry Entertainment. The series was designed to be slower, more character focused than previous franchise installments, with each season exploring different aspects of Picard and his advanced age. Filming took place in California, which granted the series large tax credits, and uh, production on the second and third seasons took place back to back. Chabon served as a showrunner for the first season. Goldsmith and Terry Matalas took over for the second, and Matalas was the sole showrunner for the third. Star Trek Picard premiered on CBS All Access on January 23rd, 2020, and the rest of its 10-episode first season was released weekly until March. The second season was released on Paramount Plus from March to May of 2022, and the third and final season was released from February to April 2023. The series met with generally positive reviews from critics and has received numerous accolades, including a Primetime Creative Arts Emmy Award for its prosthetic makeup. Several tie-in projects have been created based on the series, including an episode of the companion series Star Trek Short Treks. Cast, crew, and fans have expressed interest in a potential spin-off sequel series commonly referred to as Star Trek Legacy. Um, and I wanted to say the idea for Legacy is Seven of Nine captaining a ship.
Hmm.
Um, it's the Enterprise, isn't it? Is that where she ends off? What ship is she? Because at the very end of the series, she is commanding a ship.
Isn't it the Titan?
Is it the Titan?
I thought it was I thought she took over the Titan.
She took over the Titan. And maybe that's it.
I'll look it up.
Um, but yeah, it's amazing, and you know, there's fan service, um, as well as stuff to bring in new people. Um, Britt Spider played like 6 or 7 different characters in it, and I loved every single one.
Oh no, you're right. It's the Enterprise G.
Yeah, the
You're right.
Enterprise
You're
G.
right. You're right.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that Legacy series is basically her commanding the G. Um, it's amazing. It's lovely. I love it. Honestly, there isn't a single Star Trek series that I dislike.
I
I
do.
just think I think Voyager is the one I like the least.
I hate Enterprise.
Oh, I love Enterprise. Enterprise is great.
Can't stand Enterprise.
With the exception of the theme song.
All of it. I hated all of it. Never just couldn't ever get into it. I
Yes,
tried. Couldn't do it.
Dr. Samuel Beckett never returned home because he became commander of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
um, we should do one on Quantum Leap too, by the way.
Do it.
Yes, yes, we really do need to do Quantum Leap. I want to get a little further into the new series because it's really. If you haven't seen it, it is really.
I haven't
good.
watched it yet.
Oh my god, it is so good. I'm waiting for new episodes. But yeah, Picard is it's just brilliant. I think Strange New Worlds and Picard are neck and neck for my favorite Star Trek series now. Um, just because they're so brilliantly done and the effects are incredible. That is nice. When I realized that at the time, what Star Trek was doing in the '90s, the effects were top of the line, but they still had budgetary constraints. And I don't think with the streaming platforms they really looked at that. You know, they
Right.
just like, hey, we're going to do this show, and this is what we're going to do, and you damn the torpedoes and full steam ahead, and that's what they're doing now.
That's complete side tangent, not related at all. One of my all-time favorite lines from any Star Trek is from uh, Undiscovered Country when Sulu is captain of the Excelsior. They're flying in to save the Enterprise, and he tells them to increase speed, give it all they've got, whatever. And the helmsman said, "Sir, she'll fly apart," and he said, "Then fly her apart, damn it!"
Fly her apart then. It's like,
Yes,
goddamn, Sulu.
yeah.
uh, yeah, this is a this is an Excelsior class ship, not a 59 Edsel. Hit it. uh, yeah. Okay, that's basically it for Picard. Other than get out there and check it out. I know it is on Paramount Plus. I think they're starting to release it at different platforms now. Now that it's not first run, so you can catch it on different platforms if you don't have Paramount Plus. There is an introductory Paramount Plus option where you can
Yep.
get it with commercials. It's very, very cheap. I would recommend you getting it because you have all of Star Trek. When I say all of Star Trek, I mean all of Star Trek.
Yeah. Yeah, highly, 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 highly recommend Picard. Cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah. Even the opening sequences are good.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They're really good. Give this one a watch for sure, for sure. What's our next Star Trek we're doing?
I think the next one is Lower Decks.
Is what?
Lower Decks.
Oh, Lower Decks. Lower Decks.
Yeah, Lower Decks.
For some reason, I heard Lord X, and I'm like,
Lord
what the
X.
hell is Lord X?
Yes, we're doing Lord X.
Lower Decks. Okay.
Lower Decks.
Awesome. Get out there and watch it. Appreciate it. With that, I will step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off Criminal Discourse Podcast, Mirror, Case Text, Heavy, and the Daily Star. And this is the story of the Angels Landing cult.
The Angels Landing cult.
Yep. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done a cult. Cults fascinate me. I'm looking forward to watching that new Hulu documentary, Daughters of the Cult. But This is the Angels Landing cult, and this is the story of Daniel Perez, who was a cult leader who convinced parents that he had to rape their daughters in order to stay alive. This cult ended up shock.
What?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I need my brain to process what you just said to me.
Uh-huh.
How many parents?
I don't even know how many. It was a lot.
Okay.
It was a
All
lot.
right. I'm with you.
It did shock the world when it surfaced back in 2015. He led a commune named the Angels Landing and lived off life insurance money he earned after murdering one of his followers, Victoria Hughes.
Good God.
He convinced members of the Angels Landing commune, which was based in Kansas, that he had magical powers, was hundreds of years old, could cure disease, and knew when people were about to die, and they believed him.
Huh.
Daniel Perez's cult was motivated by greed. Officials learned through their 9-year investigation, and witnesses testified at his trial that he, in fact, ran a whole scheme of life insurance frauds and was behind the deaths of multiple people that he promised would, quote, return from the dead. One of his victims later said in court, quote, I was 10 when my childhood was over. While other 10-year-olds were riding bikes or playing with dolls, I was laying in a bed with a pillow over my head just waiting for it to be over. While other 13-year-olds were getting boyfriends and holding hands, I was holding on to my secret and losing the people I loved one by one. When other 16-year-olds were experiencing the freedom of learning how to drive and planning parties with their friends, I was planning my own death every day when I drove to school. So Daniel Perez had been living in Texas in the mid 90s when he met Trish Gomez. The two had dated for a while but ultimately remained friends. And in April 1996, Perez met a woman named Marilyn along with her son and 14-year-old daughter Michelle. Perez allowed this small family to stay with him for a few weeks as Marilyn was getting ready to move to Amarillo. And it was during that time that Perez forced Michelle to have sex with him on several occasions. This was the daughter, the 14-year
Oh
old.
God.
The rapes continued even after the family moved, and charges would eventually be filed against Perez for the rapes. And this gets weird, but the case was dismissed when Perez was believed to have found dead in Mexico. However, he was not dead. Later, Perez would state that he pled guilty to the charges and was given probation. On his way to his sentencing, he had been abducted by 4 uniformed men who beat him and left him for dead. He wasn't sure if he was dumped in Texas or Mexico, and he claims that Trish had found him and taken him to people who cared for him until he recovered. And once recovered, he moved up to Corpus Christi, Texas. Daniel Perez didn't stay in Corpus Christi long, and by the summer of 1996, he had moved to North Dakota. He was 46 years old at the time. There he met a 15-year-old girl, KL, who believed Perez was much younger than his actual age, and the pair soon began a sexual relationship, 46 and 15. It was during their relationship that Perez convinced KL that he had magical powers. He claimed he could make it rain or see someone's past, present, and future lives and could communicate with, quote, the other side. It was 3 months into KL and Perez's relationship when the honeymoon ended. Law enforcement came to KL's home and arrested Daniel, and they deported him to Mexico. However, Daniel Perez was a United States citizen. The couple remained in contact via phone over the next year, but KL did not know where Perez was living. He was actually back in Corpus Christi, but had assumed the new identity of Lou Castro. And Castro wasn't single for long, as he had met a woman named Mona Griffith who happened to live in the same apartment complex with him. The two, along with Mona's 14-year-old daughter, Lindsay, and son Cody, moved in together, and Trish had also moved into a nearby apartment complex. The group didn't stay there long, and within a few months moved to Wichita, Kansas, and Cody would stay behind with his father, but KL would soon join the group in Wichita. KL only stayed for 2 weeks before returning to North Dakota to finish school, and it was after KL left that the family moved on to South Dakota. And in South Dakota, Trish met Brian Hughes, and they soon started dating and would ultimately marry. Mona also met a man named Jim, and the couple soon became engaged. And while in South Dakota, Castro, Trish, and Mona had met with an insurance salesman. They took out a $750,000 policy on her life, naming Lindsay as her beneficiary and Trish as Lindsay's caregiver. Tragedy soon struck Jim and Mona. The newly engaged couple, along with Mona's daughter Lindsay, went missing when the plane they had been on disappeared. Jim had a private pilot's license and had taken him up one day, never to return. Castro and Trish attempted to cash in on Mona's policy, but the insurance company would not release the money since Mona's body had not been recovered. But not to be deterred, Castro and Trish repeatedly visited the insurance agency while the search for the downed plane continued. Eventually, the wreckage would be found and death certificates were issued for Mona, Jim, and Lindsay, and with those certified, Trish was paid the death benefits.
Wow.
In the summer of 2001, Trish, Brian, and their newborn daughter Nicole, along with Castro and KL, moved to Lee's Summit, Missouri, and they all moved into a home purchased in KL's name. After 3 months, the small group moved back to Wichita, Kansas, where they lived in some townhomes while looking for permanent housing. And upon settling, Trish took out a $1 million insurance policy on her life that included an accidental death rider. Her husband Brian was the beneficiary, with KL named as the co-beneficiary. A new addition to the small group was Jennifer Hudson. She was their real estate agent from Missouri who moved with her two daughters, Emily, who was age 10, and Sarah, age 17. Jennifer had sold Castro his group property in Missouri when they stayed there only a short time in 2001. While working on the real estate transaction, Jennifer had spent a lot of time with Castro, and soon their friendship developed into something more. Jennifer would end up divorcing her husband and moving her and her girls to Wichita in June of 2001. Castro had gotten the girls and others to believe that he was 100 years old, over 100 years old, and his body was often inhabited by one of three angels, Arthur, Daniel, and Amber, who was the angel of death. Trish would tell others that when he was young, Castro had died, and when he came back, he had these powers. Both Emily and Sarah, being young and impressionable, believed what the adults were telling them. By the spring of 2002, the small group had purchased 3 homes side by side in Sedgwick County, Kansas, which is outside of Valley Center, and the group referred to their collective as Angel's Landing. The first house came with 10 acres of land and was purchased by Trish. Jennifer soon bought the adjoining 10 acres and built 2 homes on it. And then a third parcel was purchased and built upon completing what looked like a compound due to the home's placements. Also on the properties were barn-like structures that housed the group's various vehicles and Castro's large model airplane collection. Lou Castro seemed to meet all of the group's needs. They were living an extravagant lifestyle with lots of material possessions at their disposal. And it was in Angel's Landing that Emily had moved into the master bedroom with Lou Castro. Emily was 10 years old at the time.
Good God.
He had convinced the group that he needed someone, quote, pure to share his bed, as he was, quote, a seer and needed a young female virgin to take care of him or he would die. In January of 2002, Castro forced Emily to have oral, vaginal, and anal sex with him. He also forced Emily's older sister, Sarah, into the same sexual perversions. And by 2007, the acts of sexual violence increased with all 3 girls. On 2 occasions, Castro threatened all 3 girls at gunpoint if they didn't comply with his demands, and he even threatened to kill Emily and Sarah's father, KL, with her own life if she didn't, in his words, quote, step up. The dynamic in Angel's Landing was Lou Castro was the boss, with Trish being second in command. According to both Emily and Sarah, Trish was like a second mother to them. In June of 2003, Castro and Trish told Emily that it was Trish's, quote, time to go, and that Trish had failed to, quote, cross over during an earlier accident. Castro told Emily that Trish would be found dead by the pool after she fell and hit her head. He asked Emily if she would like to be there when it happened, but she said she did not. Castro then told her that he would, quote, bend time so that she would not be there, but he would be there as it happened. He went on to tell Emily that after Trish passed, she would put Nicole into the pool and pull her out and call 911. Emily would tell authorities that Nicole had fallen into the pool and Trish had slipped and drowned while trying to get her daughter. Emily told the couple that she was sad about Trish dying, but Trish assured her she would eventually come back with a new, healthier body. 2 weeks after their conversation, Castro told Emily that it was time, and only Castro, Trish, Emily, Sarah, and Nicole were at Angel's Landing that day. There was a witness who was age 12 at the time and who was being abused by Perez, said Hughes actually knew she was going to die. She kissed her daughter goodbye and said she would soon return from the dead. Castro told Sarah that he would meet up with her at a local car dealership and go ahead without him, and to go ahead without him. He told Emily to take Nicole to a nearby pool house and not come out. Emily then heard a shriek from Trish and a splash, and Perez then held her underwater until she drowned.
Wow.
He then came to Emily and told her to wait until he met up with Sarah at a local car dealership and to call 911, and Emily waited 20 minutes and completed the plan. Afterwards, she called her sister Sarah, who was at the car dealership, with Castro crying, telling her that Trish fell into the pool. When paramedics arrived, they were surprised to see Trish floating in the shallow end of the pool, but believed the story that Emily told that Trish had rushed in the pool to save her daughter, but slipped and hitting her head and drowned. Emily tried to get her out, but was unable to. Trish, who was age 26 at the time, was pronounced dead, with her cause being accidental drowning. There was an autopsy conducted, with the coroner finding that Trish had blunt force trauma injury to her head, but based upon witness statements of her being seen slipping and hitting her head and then drowning to her death, was ruled accidental. In August of 2003, Trish's death benefit was paid out to her husband Brian, and soon after, new, more expensive vehicles showed up on the driveway. Before Trish's death, the group owned 2 Corvettes and several SUVs. And over the years, Perez/Castro would spend upwards of $1.5 million on lavish vehicles for the group, and all the vehicles had vanity plates with things like Angel One, Angel Two, and so forth. His extreme spending didn't stop with just the small group at Angel's Landing. At one point, Castro would give local police department $19,000 to go towards a new police vehicle. And he also hosted parties at Angel's Landing, in which local police were always welcome. The small group continued to live at Angel's Landing after Trish's death, and it was during that same year that Jennifer began dating David Queering, who had joined the group in 2003. He had met the group through Brian, with whom he had worked construction with. David had lost his wife and didn't really like being alone, so he moved in with the happy little group. And in 2004, the couple began living together and eventually married. Also in 2004, Brian, Jennifer, KL, and another woman, Megan Harbert, had taken life insurance policies out on their lives. Castro was always present when these policies were taken out and had directed who would be taking the policies, how much the policies would be for, and who would be named as beneficiaries. Castro, however, was never named as beneficiary or named in any of the policies. Megan and Castro were also dating at this time, and Megan moved into Castro's home. The two would have a child, Angelica, in December of 2004. On March 2nd, 2006, Brian left Angel's Landing to visit South Dakota. Castro told a friend, Philip Young, he didn't think that Brian would be returning to the group, and tragically, Brian was killed in what would be ruled an accident in South Dakota. His death benefit was paid out to KL. Brian was a diesel mechanic, and from those who knew him, he was always safety conscious when working under vehicles, so it surprised many when he had been crushed to death under a vehicle when his jack slipped. Years later, Sarah thought that Brian may have taken his own life due to him never getting over Trish's death and Castro's teachings on death and crossing over. In August of 2006, Sherry Cox and her 8-year-old daughter Cece began to visit Castro. Castro immediately took an interest in the young girl as she posed provocatively in a swimsuit as he took pictures, and he also had a camera placed in the bathroom to watch her change. What a fucking creep.
Creeper.
Ron Goodwin, who was a Wichita narcotics detective, had been investigating Lou Castro and his group in 2003, the year Trish died. Excuse me. His investigation was because Castro had drawn attention to himself with his parties and unexplained wealth, and in his profession, unexplained wealth usually meant drugs.
So he's investigating him for trafficking.
Right.
And he uncovers this instead.
Well, Goodwin began to do an internet search to find out what he could on Lou Castro, and that's when he came across an obituary for Mona, Jim, and Lindsay that had Lou Castro's name attached to it. So now Lou Castro had a connection to 4 other deaths. And in Goodwin's mind, with the group of homes being referred to as Angel's Landing and all the cars' vanity plates and the angel designation, he thought he might be dealing with a cult.
Yep.
Although Detective Goodwin was unable to find a record of Lou Castro, even a birth certificate, he was able to unravel the financial dealings of the group. He was able to look at bank statements for the majority of the group members, and what he found was that every 2.5 years or so, the balances would be significantly low, sometimes with only a few $1,000s, and then someone would die, and the insurance payout would replenish the accounts. Patricia Hughes had a $1.24 million life insurance policy payout from her husband, Brian. When he died, his assets and policies were paid out to various people he had been living with at Angel's Landing. What Detective Goodwin theorized was that instead of dealing drugs to afford their lifestyle, Castro would talk people into taking out large life insurance policies and then indoctrinating them into killing themselves. The problem was they didn't have a crime, just suspicions.
That's right.
But one day, Detective Goodwin happened to come across Castro driving down the road and he decided to follow him. Castro had gone into a restaurant to have a meal with someone, then he left. Detective Goodwin collected Castro's water glass and silverware. The hope was that they would get a fingerprint and finally find out who Lou Castro was, but unfortunately, the lab would be unable to get a good print off of anything the detective had collected. In September of 2008, Detective Goodwin was notified that Jennifer Hudson was killed in a car accident. And according to the reports, eyewitness statements reported that there was no way Jennifer didn't see she was heading straight onto the oncoming truck. In Goodwin's mind, he believed that Lou Castro had influenced Jennifer to commit suicide. This was about 2.5 years after Brian's death, and sure enough, the bank accounts were running low, and when Jennifer died,
Mhm.
she left behind $1 million policy.
There you go.
KL once again received a payout from Jennifer's life insurance policy. Detective Goodwin, still not giving up on finding out just who Lou Castro was, decided to try to get his fingerprints again. One day, he and another detective showed up at Angel's Landing with glossy photographs of made up suspects. They asked Lou if he could look at them and tell them that they had seen any of them around. Lou dumped the photos on a nearby pool table and used his fingernail to move the photos around like he knew exactly what the detective was trying to do. After that, Castro started getting nervous, telling Sarah that they were trying to get him, and Lou took off to look at houses in Tennessee. By this time, Castro had caused a wedge between her and her sister, and Cahill had initially stayed behind with Emily and Nicole so that they could finish up school, but the three eventually joined the group in Tennessee in June of 2009. Emily's sister Sarah did not move with the group as she was living on her own outside of Angel's Landing. By this time, Sarah was 24 and on her own for the first time. She eventually began dating a man named Daniel McGrath, and as the two's relationship deepened, Sarah shared with Daniel all about the group's members' deaths, along with the group expectation they served Castro, but most
Wow.
importantly, that the group was supported financially by the life insurance payouts they had received over the years. She would also tell him that Lou had raped her from the age of 17 until she was 24, and Daniel reported all of this to the FBI in January of 2010 and sued both Detective Goodwin and John Sullivan of the FBI interviewed Daniel about what had been reported. John Sullivan, again of the FBI, as it turns out, had been investigating Castro himself since 2007. Through their investigation and Daniel's tip, they found out that Castro had assumed a new identity, Joe Venegas, and was now residing in Columbia, Tennessee. With this new name, investigators were able to see that Joe Venegas had opened a new bank account in Tennessee, and when they looked at bank surveillance tapes, they could see him on film and knew they had him committing bank fraud. On April 21st, 2010, a search warrant was executed for Venegas's Tennessee residence. There was a sense of urgency since it was getting to the 2.5 year mark, and from that search, investigators discovered 11 firearms, two wallets containing identifications for Joe Castro and Joe Venegas, along with a Social Security card and birth certificate for Joe Venegas. Castro was taken into custody that day, and after being formally fingerprinted, investigators discovered that Lou Castro / Joe Venegas was in fact Daniel Perez. In the meantime, Castro / Perez / Venegas was sentenced to 2 years in jail for aggravated identity theft and Social Security fraud. The investigation continued into March 2011 with authorities interviewing Sarah and Emily on several occasions. Sarah would then tell investigators about the abuse she suffered for years from Lou Castro. Emily would tell investigators about Trisha's drowning, which was what would end up being enough to put Castro away. On September 11th, 2011, Perez Castro Venegas was charged in Sedgwick County District Court in Kansas with one count of first-degree murder for Trisha Hughes' death, 10 counts of rape, 10 counts of aggravated criminal sodomy, 3 counts of aggravated assault, 11 counts of making false information, and 1 count of criminal threat.
Holy crap, they're going to throw him under the jail.
Well, however, by the time of Perez's trial, when it rolled around, the charges had been amended to 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder, 1 count of sexual exploitation of a child, 8 counts of rape, 7 counts of aggravated criminal sodomy, 3 counts of aggravated sexual assault, and 8 counts of making false information. The trial took place in February 2015, and several witnesses from the group testified for the prosecution, including Daniel, KL, Emily, Cody, Michelle, Marilyn, David, Megan, Sarah, Cece, and Cece's mother.
Whoa, 2015? How come I don't remember hearing about this?
I didn't either. This actually appeared in a search when I was like, it's time for me to do a cult again, and this
Wow.
popped up as one of the dangerous cults, but I had never heard of it either.
Okay, sorry to stop you. Please go on.
You're fine. The witnesses testified to the group's transient movements over a 15-year period that included a number of states: Texas, South Dakota, Missouri, Kansas, Tennessee, and Mexico. They also testified to the ongoing sexual violence by Daniel Perez and the death of 6 people connected with the group. It was Mona, Lindsay, Jim, Trish, Jennifer, and Brian. The various group members would tell the jury about the control that Perez had over the group. Emily testified as to what happened on the day Trisha drowned. Trisha's death would be the only one that Daniel Perez stood trial for. And insurance salesmen and insurance agents and car salesmen also testified. Sarah would later state on the show Deadly Cults that Lou Castro had told her he had to, quote, fix her so that she would be able to get married and have babies someday. The fixer part of his plan was to have sex with her on an ongoing basis. He also would tell her that if she told anyone, he would kill her dad. And in Sarah's mind, she would do anything to protect her dad, so she kept quiet about the abuse. But she told Oxygen in 2020, quote, there was nothing I could do. I remember saying, am I fixed now? Very sad.
Mm.
She would also disclose that one day Lou had sat her and her sister Emily down and told them it was time for their mother to die. Sarah had gone to her mom to tell her what Lou had said, and Jennifer told her not to worry about it, but she had cause to worry. Jennifer, as we previously discussed, is the one that would die in a car accident when she ran into a fully loaded hauling truck and was killed instantly. Daniel Perez testified in his defense along with 3 other witnesses. He claimed he was not at home the day Trish Hughes drowned and he had no partner death. On the stand, he denied having any sort of magical powers and contended the sex was always consensual. You can't consent as a minor.
No, you can't.
He always seemed to place the blame on others. On the stand, he said the beating he received in Mexico had caused him to have amnesia for years.
Oh, really? That's convenient.
He also claimed upon cross-examination by District Attorney Mark Bennett that he had no idea where the money had come from that paid for his lifestyle and that of the other group members. He claimed that the women of the group held the money and had the final say in all matters.
And if you look on the paperwork, that is correct.
Yep, that's why he kept his name off of it.
That's right.
Daniel Perez did end up getting convicted on all counts and sentenced to 2 life terms with a consecutive sentence of 80 years. He was convicted of 20 counts of sexual abuse of children, with his victims ranging in age from 8 to 16.
Oh, crap.
His charges included rape, aggravated criminal sodomy, sexual exploitation of a child, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and murder. And he is currently housed in the Lansing Correctional Facility and will not be eligible for parole until he is 120 years old.
That's assuming he survives prison.
Yeah,
Because I guarantee you, it's already out what he did.
yeah. And that's the story of the Angels Landing cult.
Well, thank you for that. That's amazing. I can't believe I hadn't heard about that. That was very recent.
Yeah, yeah. I was the same way. I was just like, wow, I'd never heard of this. But like I've said before, cults fascinate me, and I haven't done one in a while, so I
Right on. Well,
felt it
thank
was
you for
time.
that.
Absolutely. Well, that'll take us to the end of another week. We appreciate each and every one of you for staying with us. Do remember, as we had discussed last week, we are looking for fan submissions for movies that make you laugh out loud. We would like to
Yes,
do
please.
a fan episode curated list. We gave you ours. Please send in yours. We would like to cover this. This will be a future episode when we have enough responses, so be looking forward to that.
Yep. Let us
Uh,
know.
I think next week, if I'm right, we are covering Time Suck video games.
Time suck video
I'm
games.
excited about this one. I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, you, me, and Will all had we did three apiece, and we're going to talk at length.
Yeah, this will be great. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So as always, you can find our website nerderymurder.com. That's more information of the things we talk about. You'll find the links to this episode as well as pictures of the topics we've discussed, and you'll also find the link to our YouTube page, which Zig so oftenly updates.
Yes, there should be.
Oftenly, is that a
Oftenly?
word?
Yeah, it's
Oftenly.
fine. Yeah, fuck it, we'll use it. Yeah, there should be scenes from Picard. I don't think I got full episodes, but there's quite a few scenes in there, so you can actually see it and a little behind the scenes stuff as well.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Appreciate all the work you do on that.
Thank you, sir.
You can also find the link to our merchandise page where if you wish to show off your Nerdery Murdy fandom, please do consider purchasing something from there. That does help to help with the cost that keeps our show on the air. That, along with our Patreon, our patrons do help as well with their donations. With that donation, you do get early access to our episodes. Plus, you get exclusive episodes. We have, as of this recording, we have 16 that are out there.
Yes.
So, if you want some extra nerdery and murder in your life, please do consider becoming one of our patrons. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. And last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the topics that we discuss. So, with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.